The injury lawyer with us every week here on Louisville Live this morning, and good having you with us. We want to open up the WBKI legal line right now. Karl Truman is here out of the rain. It's weird seeing rain out there, but there will be accidents today because people don't know how to drive in rain and roads will be slick. You want to give us a call right now, 276-2118. Injury, workers' comp, Social Security, some other legal question. Karl will answer your questions, but you got to call right now, the WBKI legal line. The first thing I'm going to ask you, I know you travel a lot and you go to and from. A lot in the news the last 3 or 4 days about the body scan, about the pat downs, the holidays coming up. What's too much patting down? What's too much, looking into the scanners and seeing all your body parts? And I think the TSA is trying to juggle it, but what's going on here?
Well, I've got a professional opinion and a personal opinion on that. My professional opinion is, first of all, flying is not a right. Flying is not a constitutional right. It's just like driving your car. You don't have a right to have a driver's license. It's a privilege, which means that the government can restrict it. They can put conditions on that privilege. They can take away that privilege. So, if you're, have too many speeding tickets or, whatever, if you violate traffic laws, they can take that privilege away. So flying, there is no right to fly to go through that, and so there is no constitutional protection. So the Constitution doesn't say, oh well, they can't pat you down or they can't have these intrusive measures to go through the airport. And once you, just like going into a government building, if we're going to a government building, especially the federal courthouse, you'll have signs that say, by entering this facility you are subject to search. Right. You are giving up your right to privacy by entering that property. If you enter a military base, there's signs that clearly say, if you enter this property, your car, your purse, your suitcase, whatever you have, is subject to search.
Okay, so that's your professional opinion. Now, what's your personal opinion?
Well, my personal opinion is that I would rather be subjected to some intrusive violations of privacy and have 100% certainty that this is a safe flight, that there are no terrorists or nobody that's going to cause me or my family harm, than to be all upset and say, well, oh no, you can't do that, and then what happens when one of those people do slip through because we're not taking every measure possible. So, I think these people that want to complain about that are overreacting. I think they're not looking at the big picture. The terrorists are constantly adapting, constantly changing their approaches. So I would rather let the TSA do their job, take care of us, take care of our families, for us to get on the plane knowing that it's going to be safe. Well, and if you don't want to do that, take the Greyhound bus.
I just hope the TSA examiners and workers are professional. Right. They're qualified in the scanning. The last thing someone wants to see on TMZ or some other show is Jessica Simpson or Derek Jeter going through one of these machines and their X-rays on TV.
You saw the clip of a 3-year-old girl getting patted down.
Well, they now
and
changed.
She was screaming.
But if you have a 3-year-old girl, why subject her to that? Why not just let her go through the
They've since modified. Kids under 12 now are not subject to it unless they feel there's a threat. Right. So they've loosened up a little bit there.
Which, unfortunately, the terrorists, anyone who does wish us harm, will now use that against us.
And then they'll use children as weapons. They don't care.
Hey, give us a call. What's your comment? 276-2118, 276-2118. Maybe you think it's a personal violation. Let Karl know about it. Workers' comp, Social Security disability. You might be in an accident today with this rain. If you have a question, give us a call. We also take your emails live at WBKI.TV, live at WBKI.TV. We have one from Tom in Louisville, is writing Louisville Live this morning. This is from Tom, Christy.
All right. Tom says, I recently fell at work in an active hard hat area where remodeling was taking place. I had on safety equipment and apparently just tripped. When I fell, I cracked some ribs and suffered a dislocated shoulder. My employer says this would be covered under sick time and my health benefits, not workers' comp. Can Mr. Truman explain this one?
Well, and there's a couple of issues there. First of all, if you're on the job, that scenario described should be covered under workers' compensation. Sometimes employers will say that just because they want to protect their workers' comp rates and not have any claims. So they'll say, oh, well, no, that's not workers' comp. So you have to be informed. But basically, anytime you're hurt on the job, and it doesn't matter whose fault it is. You could be, this person tripped, didn't know what they tripped on. They could have tripped over their shoelaces. It doesn't matter under workers' compensation. If you're hurt on the job or during the course and scope of your employment, then it is a workers' compensation claim. Of course, there are some exceptions. Let's say, for example, you're sitting at your desk and you fall over with a heart attack. Then more than likely than not, that's not going to be workers' comp because that's not tied in with your job. Now if you're a heavy construction worker and you're lifting 100-pound bags of cement and you have a heart attack, that could be. So it's kind of a case-by-case basis. But the general rule is if you're hurt and you trip over something at work and you hurt your back or hurt your shoulder, that is covered under workers' comp. The other interesting aspect of that too is that there's remodeling going on. So if somebody else other than the employer was there and they left out tools or left out, created a safety hazard there, and you're working there and you trip or you fall or get hurt because of somebody else's negligence, you could have what's called a third-party claim against the contractor.
So this could be a contractor and then a subcontractor there. A subcontractor leaves some tools out, and that's what you're talking about.
You could have two cases because you can't sue your employer for negligence, to get pain and suffering and all you can sue your employer claim is only workers' compensation. But if there's someone else that causes that unsafe environment, you could not only have a workers' compensation claim, but a claim against that other person that created the hazard.
We're taking your phone calls if you want to call, 276-2118. We're with Karl Truman, the injury lawyer serving Kentucky and Southern Indiana. We have another email in from Daryl from Southern Indiana. We do appreciate your emails live at WBKI.TV. Here's one from Daryl in Louisville.
All right, someone hit my car in June and I hurt my back. It was the other driver's fault and he got a ticket. I underwent treatment most of the summer and felt better, but in recent weeks it started hurting again. I signed paperwork for my injury and got my truck fixed this summer. Can I go back to my insurance company and tell them about my latest pain? And that's from Daryl in Louisville.
Well, there's a lot of questions there that I would have to ask Daryl some follow-up questions to find out what paperwork he signed. Did he sign a settlement to release his claim? Or was that just for the property damage? So that's the first question. But certainly if he has been undergoing treatment and continuing to have problem, definitely he has a claim against the other driver, for their liability to recover for all of his damages.
Okay. Mm-hmm. We're talking to Karl Truman, the injury lawyer, 502-276-2118, taking your emails and your phone calls.
Absolutely. And we do have a caller on the line, Mary Lou from Taylorsville. You have a question for Karl?
Yes, I do. I'm for my son. He's asleep now. He works at night. He fell and got hurt at work, and he's got a cadaver bone in his neck and some other injuries, and he's having a time at work. He's not supposed to do certain jobs, and they're supposed to find him a job that he can do legally. He can do without hurting himself, and they don't seem to want to do that. Is there any way that he can get that done?
Thank you, Marilyn.
Great question. Taylorsville, my hometown. I went to Taylorsville High School. But that's a good question, which I get a lot of, is because, see, one of the downsides of workers' compensation, workers' comp does not protect your job. So the question is, are you able to go back to do that kind of work to do your prior employment? Of course, if you can't, then that goes into how calculating your settlement under workers' comp. But workers' comp law by itself does not protect your job. What could protect your job, or where you could have rights, is under what's called the Americans with Disabilities Act, which says that an employer has to make a reasonable accommodation for someone with a physical disability. So if they have some other modification to be able to do the job, within your restrictions, then they may be able to do that. That's enforced by the EEOC under federal law, but that's not part of workers' comp.
Well, I'll tell you, Mary Lou, we appreciate your call. And before we let Karl go, we want to let you know his area of understanding in the legal profession, because he does a little bit of everything.
He does. The list